Welcome to the Hardscape Insiders Podcast, where we're all about building success in the hardscape industry. I'm your host, Brian Basic, owner of Citadel Hardscape Marketing. After spending 20 years in corporate America, leading sales organizations, and scaling and selling my own home services company, I launched a digital marketing company, and I discovered my passion, helping hardscape contractors grow and dominate their respective markets. Each episode, we bring real-life success stories, expert interviews, and actionable strategies to help you take your business to the next level. Whether you're just starting out or looking to scale, we've got insights, ideas, and tools to turn your business into a market leader, and we're going to have some fun doing it. So let's dive in and start building your success. This is the Hardscape Insider Podcast. All right, well, hey, welcome to the second podcast of the Hardscaper Insiders Podcast. I have a great friend, Jeff Evers from the Paver Protectors, that's here today. Jeff, thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
And so what I wanted to do just first off, just to kind of get you to be introduced to the folks, is tell us a little bit about, you're not a Floridian. Obviously you are now, but you weren't born a Floridian. And so tell us a little bit about where you came from and how you got to be in Southwest Florida.
Okay, well, interesting enough, I grew up in the Orlando area. I was born up north, but through my dad's work and being transferred to several different places.
I didn't know that.
I actually went to high school in Lake Mary, on the other side of Orlando, Lake Mary High School.
Yep.
So after graduation, my dad got transferred to Michigan, and I had the opportunity to either stay in Florida or go to Michigan with the rest of the family, so I opted to go with the family. Went up there and went to community college, got an associate's degree, but just knew I wanted to start my own business. I just didn't know what I wanted to do, so I opened up a window cleaning business. My dad wasn't too happy about that. He's like, "You're gonna make a living squeegeeing glass? How's that gonna work?" I said, "Well, I got a plan, and just kind of winged it in the beginning." But
and so, how old were you at this point?
25.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 25 years old, and I had an uncle that he owned a sign shop.
Okay.
So back then it was more hand painting the signs rather than vinyl graphics.
Yep.
He did vehicles and he did ambulances and fire trucks in his community and stuff.
Right.
And I always said, "Wow, it'd be nice to be like Uncle Rick and have my own business doing something," but I don't have any artistic talent.
Right.
I don't know how to work on cars. And ironically, I was just working at a Little Caesars pizzeria, and a guy came in and cleaned our windows, and I'm supposed to pay him out of the register. It was like $12. I was doing the math. I'm like, man, he's only here 10 minutes. And so I was talking to him. I said, "So you do pretty good with the window cleaning?" He's like, "I have the whole plaza." He goes, and I get the plaza done probably about an hour and a half, and I make about $300. I was doing the math. I'm like, that's pretty good money.
Yeah, that's great money.
So I started not really knowing what I was doing, but thinking I'm going to concentrate on just doing storefronts like he was doing.
Commercial.
Yeah. Commercial, and dressed appropriately, nice uniforms and everything. Right. And this guy wasn't dressed that way. So in my mind, I'm like,
oh, you already knew from the beginning that you wanted to differentiate.
Yeah, marketing was kind of appealed to me. I knew I could differentiate myself from everybody else in that industry. And then it quickly went to residential, and that became my niche. Was just residential. And that business did very well, and then sold that business.
Did you get out of commercial to do residential?
We still did commercial, but it was a very small part of our business.
Okay.
I kind of put one guy in control of the commercial, and he'd basically go around, do all the jobs, and turn in the cash every Friday evening and so on. So that worked out pretty well. But the residential is really what built the business to where it was when I sold it. I was able to sell it. I wanted to move back south and went to South Carolina first, started a window cleaning and pressure washing there. And it wasn't taking off like I thought it would. It's just too slow of a progress. And so I figured, you know what, let's go back to Florida where I'm originally from. And my wife was in favor of that. She goes, "Yeah, let's do it." So we moved here, and the rest is kind of history. I started here helping my brother with his window cleaning business.
Now, what was the name of his business?
Coastline.
That's right.
Coastline Window and Pressure Cleaning, and they had a really good reputation. They were a pretty large company at that time. And so I came on board just to help him train some new employees and get out in the field and kind of learn the area.
Right.
While I was going to start building this in the very infant stages. And it wasn't long that this took off. And we do paver sealing, cleaning and sealing of pavers, and that's all we do.
So I want to talk about that, but give me a little bit idea. So when you were in Michigan and you had the window cleaning company, how many people did you have working for you?
I employed about 12 people.
All right, so it was not a small operation.
No.
Okay, you got it up to 12 people, which is a pretty decent size small business.
Yeah, especially for window cleaning, at least at that time in that area. Now with the technology, with the water-fed poles and stuff, and there's a lot more industry leaders that you can learn from. Right. And with the advent of the internet now, you can learn a lot, whereas back then it was just you go out and you try it on your own and you teach yourself everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And so in Michigan, it's also not a full year type of thing. It's very seasonal, right?
I made it a full year thing.
Okay.
Well, so when we talk about processes and scaling your business, so we had a dilemma. So we figured every winter we hit this slowdown.
Sure.
Some people would call it a schedule, but not really. Before Christmas, they're having Christmas parties.
Right.
And up north, they got these big pieces of glass, and they want to be looking outside. Whereas here, a lot of people cover them up because it's so hot and that sun's coming through the window. You know, let's block the sun. Well, there you don't get much sun. So when it is out, you want those windows open. So I came up with a program to where if you did cleaning inside and out in the spring, we would come out every quarter and do the outside. And so the way it worked out is you would basically buy 3 cleanings and you'd get 1 for free. Okay. Is kind of how the price was structured.
Right.
So that program was very popular. People, if they had Christmas parties or Thanksgiving, they had people coming over, they'd always call us, hey, I want to use one of my cleanings. And so we come out every quarter, but they could use them kind of when they wanted. And so that would bring in revenue during the slower months and keep my guys busy.
Yep.
And then as an added bonus to bring in more money when we're slower, I did a prepay advantage for our customers where if they prepaid for the year up front instead of as they went, the prepayments letters came out in the 1st of January and they were due by February 15th. If they prepaid, they would get additional 10% off. So I would bring in probably additional $40,000, $50,000 during those 2 months where really those were our real slow months where I needed that injection of cash.
What a great idea. Is your Hardscape business showing up online when customers are searching for your service? If not, you're leaving money on the table. At Citadel Hardscape Marketing, we specialize in helping hardscape contractors like you dominate local search, generate leads, and scale your business. From SEO to website optimization and lead generation, we know what works in the industry because that's all we do. Get a free strategy call today and start building your online presence right away. Visit Citadel Hardscape Marketing and let's grow your business together. You know, one of the things I talk about when I speak to small businesses is this idea of residual income. And the power of residual income. I mean, you're in a situation, you're even going to do it with your company, I'm sure with Paver Protector, or you do it with Paver Protectors, is that, you could seal it once, but the money really is in the annuity of the cleaning and the sealing, right?
Correct.
And so, a lot of businesses just want to do something once and be done with the customer when there's so much more money to be made if they've come up with some way to service them for a longer period of time. It sounds like you did that up in Michigan with the windows, where most people would be like shoveling snow or doing snow plowing. You're still out cleaning windows, which is a great idea. Cool. So, all right. So tell me. So you come to Florida. You're helping your brother do his window cleaning business, and you got an idea for your own. So how did you pick sealing pavers, and then how did you narrow down to that niche? I mean, you could have done paver installation and all these other kind of things, but you really niched down to something pretty narrow.
Yeah.
It's been hugely successful for you, but tell me what was the thought process behind that?
So the process behind that was while helping my brother, ironically, when I very first started working for him, I was going to do window cleaning as well. And he was already planning he was taking on business coaching and public speaking, and he was looking for an exit strategy.
Right.
And I think he just didn't want the added responsibility of the business. So he was planning his exit strategy. And the thought was, I don't care if you compete with me because I'm planning to get out of this, or maybe you could take over my business. He goes, I don't really know. He goes, but I don't really mind you competing with me because I was going to go to Orlando. That's where I was from. So he talked me into coming here to be close to the family, which I was in favor of. But when I brought up the competition thing, he assured me he wasn't too worried about that. And the stress of running his business while he was doing his other ventures, it was a lot for him. And so that was the idea when I first came here. And then one day I'm out working on Sanibel Island, beautiful day. I'm just enjoying being outside. I'm from Michigan. This is like paradise to me.
Yeah.
So I'm out there working, and he says, hey, after work, can we have a meeting? I'm like, sure. So I go into his office, and he's like, is there anything else you could do other than window cleaning? I'm like, why, what's going on? He says, well, one of my competitors went out of business, and the general manager has agreed to come on board here and kind of take over the things that I can't do when I'm doing my other ventures. And so I'm thinking of keeping it. And rather than competing against each other, if you were to open up another business where I could even feed you leads,
sure,
it'd be beneficial. And I'm like, I don't know what else I could do. Now, I had sealed a little bit of pavers up north, but it was kind of, I was that guy that I tell my customers to stay away from. I was kind of experimenting with it, right?
I could do that. I've not done it, but I could do that, yeah.
And we did, there wasn't much pavers up there, but there were some. Right. So I had some background in it, but not much. So I reached out to one of the manufacturers of one of the products that we used in the very beginning.
Right.
Asked if they offered training, and he sent me out to meet a contractor that agreed to let me shadow him on a job.
Oh, yeah.
I spent like 2 hours with this guy, and then I said, yeah, I'm going to start my own. And I kind of started from scratch at that point.
And so you decided just to do paver sealing, not paver installation.
Just paver sealing. I figured, you know what, installation, repairs, that kind of thing could possibly come down the road, but I want to master paver sealing first. And at the time when I broke in was in 2011. So as you know, there was maybe one other company that did paver sealing, maybe two that advertised at least that were on my radar.
Right.
And so I hit the ground running. And it's funny, my very first job, getting weeds out of the joints. We've got turbo tips, and we got ways to get those out. Right. I handpicked every weed with needle nose pliers out of this lady's driveway. So what now would take us about an hour and a half, I was there for like 12 hours. But you know what? I pretty much taught myself everything I know. The guy that I went and shadowed for that couple hours that one day, he became like a mentor to me and was a wealth of knowledge that I can always call on. So he was very helpful and instrumental in me getting to where I'm at today.
Right.
But once I got it figured out, then I kind of took it from there.
And so we were talking earlier about, one of the mistakes a lot of small business guys make coming out of the gate is they think they need to get everything from everybody. So they're not going to narrow their search because they need the business. And so as a result, their marketing is I can do anything, but in doing that, they market to no one. And so that's the big mistake they make, is not niching down. You niche down to paver sealing, and it has really worked for you guys. And so, what would you say, were there a couple factors as far as how you figured out what you were, what that niche product was going to be? I mean, was it just that was the only one that came to mind, or did you do some other analysis on some other niches that you thought about and then just decided this was the best one?
Well, it's kind of the first one that came to mind once I got to know the area and I saw just how many pavers there were in Florida.
Tons of pavers.
And really, that was the main decision for me. With the window cleaning, it was every building has a window.
Right.
So, and with paver sealing, I wasn't so sure. But as I drove around and got to know the area, any home that's built, past 1978, 79, they have pavers.
Right.
It seems like, there's still a lot of concrete, but mostly pavers. And knowing that, I knew that there was a need for this. If anything, especially the cleaning part of it, the more I got educated on the sealing, I realized what a benefit that sealing is. So I decided just to go full force with that because I knew there's a need for it.
And so you're getting some success. There's a market here for this. And so how many guys did you have? It was just you at the beginning?
Just me in the beginning.
And then how long until you added your first crew, or what did that look like?
Yeah, so after about, I want to say about a year and a half,
okay,
I hired my first helper.
Okay, wow, that long, okay.
Yeah, and because I'm not afraid of hard work, so I just figured the more I work, the more money I'm going to make. But I knew that I would need somebody pretty soon. So once I got to that point where I had work pretty much every day, then I hired my first helper with the goal of teaching him what I knew so that he can do these jobs on his own,
right?
Free me up to do marketing,
sales,
introduce myself to other business owners and really get out there and grow this business. And that's what I did. So my first guy, his name was Austin, got him trained, got him on a truck. And then I went out and grew this business to where it's at today.
And so, the key thing is, as you scale, the first thing you got to do is kind of have someone come behind you, right? And so that you can feel free to go do the next one and the next one. And so the training piece is critical. Because if there's issues with quality, you're going to find yourself back on the sealer doing the same thing, right? So it's really important that you train your guys to do it and do it well, do it like you would do it, right?
Right.
And so sounds like you were successful in doing that. I know you continue to do that today. You and I were talking about you're adding another guy, another crew, and it takes that guy a long time before you trust him to go out to do his own sealing. Is that right?
That's true. So I have. We 6 to 8 months before we're comfortable sending them out on their own. We do have some that are kind of like on the fast track where, 45 days in, it's like, this guy's got it. And we could send him out. But usually it takes 6 to 8 months before he can go out on a truck and just start running his own crew. I was lucky with Austin. He was a pretty quick learner,
right?
And he was very attentive to detail, which is hard to find.
Yes.
Somebody like that, but that's how I am.
Right.
So that's kind of what I expected of him. And then when I hired after that, Austin was the one that trained him. Okay?
That's a key point. That is an absolute key point.
So if you have
train
good
a
people,
trainer, right?
Yeah, Austin's got to be an extension of me. So if I'm not there, I expect him to teach the way I want it done. Austin's no longer with the company, but now I've got 3 guys that they know my process, they know the systems that I have in place, they know what I expect, and they teach what I expect. And so we have pretty good luck with that, and we've got very good guys. We don't have a large turnover, and customers like that.
Oh no, I mean, in this, having been in this business with you, I can speak from a point of reference that it's hard to keep good people.
Yeah.
And so if you've got guys for 3 to 5 years, that's a huge advantage that you have, because that's not normal. And so kudos to you, and we'll talk a little bit more about what you do internally to keep people and keep them well, but that's really good. That's really good. And so I wanted to ask you a little bit about your marketing. So you do really well marketing. You and I talked about this before. Your website is solid. You got a good, solid website. Not only that, but your social presence is really good. And so it looks like, and you and I have talked about your rebranding a bit moving forward, and you're not shy about spending money. And so one of the issues that I see with new guys is they really skimp on some of the critical items like a website. And as a result, their website is not that good. It doesn't rank well. And so they're, well, I spent $500 on it. And like, well, you got maybe $500 worth from that. And so you've been one that really invest well in your marketing. And so tell me a little bit about what your philosophy is when it comes to that.
Yeah. So with the marketing, it depends on where you're at in the journey of your business. So in the very beginning, it was all about just having people let their neighbors know about us,
right?
Word of mouth, obviously. And then the Home Magazine, which is a magazine that goes out to homeowners once a month, and it's a publication. It's basically like the Yellow Pages, but full color ads, basically. Yep. I couldn't afford it in the beginning. But I was all in, and I had confidence in my sales ability. And I knew once I did the job, they'd be happy, but it's getting that job that was the struggle. So I just put it on my credit card. I said, you know what, worst case scenario, I just make the minimum payments. I'll commit for a year. And that magazine really helped me get started, because at the time there's only one competitor in there. Now it's a different story, but back then it was, so I got a lot of traction that way. And then I utilized the type of work that I did to get that word of mouth. And then it's a matter of budgeting so that you can spend more in advertising.
Because I think you do Google ads, is that right?
Yeah, I do Google ads. I do several of those magazines now.
Yep, I see that.
I do Next Door. I have he's like a marketing person for me.
Yep.
He does a lot of my Facebook. I do some of it as well, but he does a lot of that, and he creates the shorts that you see on TikTok and on YouTube.
Right.
So I mean, all in all, I spend about $25,000 a month in advertising. Now it takes years to grow to that budget.
Yeah,
so, so at this point, I have constant leads coming in. I mean, we do anywhere from 13 to 16 estimates a day, or we have the capacity to.
Right.
Okay. So leads aren't a problem now. The problem now is the market is so saturated with people that watch YouTube for a couple hours and they start businesses and they just come in and undercut everybody. But that's not our customer. Our customer knows what they're getting with us.
Right.
They're getting the long-standing reputation. They're getting the technicians that have been doing this for a long time, and being that it's all we do, as you said, the niches.
Right.
That's what separates us apart from others. And we do have very good competition out there. Some good companies out there, as you know.
Right.
So it's just a matter of, doing the good job and getting them to repeat. So we have a maintenance program with this business too.
Sure.
And with the maintenance program, they actually get the clean and seal, and they get 2 additional cleanings to be used within the next 2 years. And then when it comes time to reseal again, they're guaranteed that price for life as long as they remain on that program. So we get people that are very excited, like, wow, so you'll never raise the price on me? I'm like, if you keep repeating, no.
Wow.
But the way that works for me, because people say, how can you do that? Well, the average homeowner lives in their home 5 to 7 years.
Right.
So there's going to be some that live there for the rest of their lives, and I'm okay with that, because the reason is with the maintenance program, they're getting 2 additional cleanings. That's 3 visits to their house. And if you've seen my trucks, they're like driving billboards. They're all over the place. People hear about hear about us by seeing our trucks on the road nonstop. So that's the neighbors see our trucks, 3 times a year.
Right.
So just for the one house.
Right.
So that leads to more customers. So it's worked out very well for me. My customers love it because they can budget. Because paver sealing, depending on the size of the property you have, it could be a big budget item for a lot of people.
Sure.
So this allows them to budget for it, and they don't have to worry about any increases.
Want even more Hardscape business tips, insider knowledge, and network opportunities? Join our Hardscape Contractors Mastermind on Facebook. Connect with other Hardscape business owners, share your success stories, ask questions, and get exclusive content from our guests. It's a free resource designed to help you grow, learn, and network with other top contractors in the industry. Join today by searching Hardscape Contractors Mastermind on Facebook or clicking the link below the show notes. You mentioned a couple of things I just want to pick up on. One is not only the residual piece of that, which you've done a great job coming up with maintenance programs that bring that in. You're also leveraging, the wraps of your vehicles, and you've invested in all of that stuff. You've done a great job on that. And then you also, the investment that you make now, you said your marketing budget is up to $25,000 a month, which, a lot of folks may say that's a fair amount of money. What's your revenue on an annual basis? It's kind of ballpark.
We're right around $3 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, you look at that and say, okay, on a $3 million business, that's really not that's a good amount of money, but that's in the realm of where you should be, right?
Right.
And so, for those out there that are thinking, where should I be? Well, it kind of depends on what your revenue and what your goals are. The great thing about you and the way that you know your business, if I were to say, hey, so tell me how many leads do you need per month in order to close the amount that you need to get to your next level? You probably would know that, right?
Yeah.
And so, what you need to know is, what's my goal? Is it 4 million next year? And so if it's 4 million and my average job size is, I don't know, $2,000, and then my close rate is this, you can work backwards to figure out, all right, how many leads do I need? And if at this close rate, at this amount, average to hit my number. And then it's just a matter of what do I need from a marketing perspective in order to generate that many leads to be able to hit that number. And you're all over those numbers. And so most guys that are successful like you know those numbers. And so that's one of the things I love about you is that you know your numbers, you know where you're going to be, you know what you need to spend in order to get there, and that's really kind of cool. And so tell me a little bit about, all right, so now you're a $3 million customer. Where do you take this next? Do you want to, I don't know how big you want to get. I don't know if you want to franchise this thing. I mean, are you thinking about those things now? I mean, what's your thought process as the entrepreneur? Because you've kind of worked your way out of the daily operations. Is that right?
Yeah.
At this point?
Yeah. So still involved in daily, but it's basically doing the things that I want to do. Doing things like this. This is the type of things that I enjoy.
Yep.
Talking to other business owners. And really my main motivation now at this point is taking care of my employees. Obviously, customers first. That's what gets us to where we're at.
Right.
But investing in my people. So in the beginning, it was just me, and I paid Austin hourly, and it was a good wage. I've always been one of the highest paid employers of paver sealing in the industry, but that attracts the better people.
Right.
So my goal now is to take care of my people and to grow the business so that I can better take care of them. So if let's just say hypothetically, if all my guys can make $300,000 a year and be super wealthy or whatever you want to call that, I'm great with that.
Means you made a lot of money.
I've made a lot of money,
right?
And we still do.
Yep.
But my focus isn't all about padding my pockets. It's about taking care of my people, because if they feel like they're taken care of and they respect the job and they have pride in the work that they do, it's going to show in the work that they do, which just results in more customers.
Right.
So where I'm at now, I've been approached about franchising by a lot of investors and people. I get 3 emails a month. People want to buy my business. So I'm not interested in selling the business. Retirement, to me, my financial advisor asks me all the time, so what's the exit strategy? I said, really, retirement for me is owning the business and working on the parts of the business that I want to work on and delegating the things that I don't want to work on.
Sure.
And I have an operations manager. He takes most of the stuff that I don't care to do.
Right.
So really, if I really wanted to break it down, I mean, I can work 4 hours a week and everything will be fine. My staff is, I've delegated enough stuff through systems and processes where I can pull myself away. But I enjoy being out there and doing it. Even dealing with customer complaints, I enjoy that, because once they meet me and we make it right, they're so happy, and it leads to another positive review. And to me, it's like, how many good reviews can I get? It's I take a lot of pride in that.
It's funny. I remember, people don't understand how challenging paver sealing can be. Having done it before, we've messed it up so many times. Because you learn as you go through, on not only what products to use, but also, from the situation, what's underneath the pavers makes a big difference on absorption rate of sealant and all that other kind of stuff. And you learn that, I won't say the hard way, but I remember many times having customers that were not happy and going to do the same thing that you did and making them happy, stripping it down, redoing it at my expense. And we turned a 1-star into a 5-star because they're just not used to that, right? And so that's how you get 1,000 reviews. We are over 1,000 reviews, which is where you guys are at today. Tell me a little bit about, you talked about when you first started with Austin, you paid him a salary, and then after that, as you now build this business, how many employees do you have now?
We're right around 13.
Okay.
Including office staff.
And so what other things have you done for your employees, whether it be a 401k or healthcare or whatever it is? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to get to be able to offer those kind of things? What has that meant to the employees? And then tell me a little bit about retention rate and how long some of your employees have been with you, and then what that means to your business.
So our retention rate is very good. We don't have a lot of guys coming and going, but it is a revolving door to an extent because we don't always have 13 employees that stay forever. We'll have like 6, and then some come through and they end up being long-time employees, and then some just pass through and it's not for me. Some guys work 2 days and quit. So we just got to find the right guys.
Yeah. Right.
But over the years, the more the company has been able to make, and that's through satisfying our customers, the more I'm able to do for my employees. So I always wanted to be the type of employer that I would want to work for. I worked a lot of jobs when I was younger. I worked in the restaurant industry. I worked for, probably way too many jobs. My wife in Michigan, she's like, you got nowhere to apply now. You've worked everywhere. Because if I didn't like it, I quit.
Right.
And at the same time, if I worked a lot of jobs, I felt underappreciated. Because I know the effort that I put in.
Right.
And if I was overlooked for a raise or if they didn't feel me worthy enough of making a certain amount, that's why I knew I wanted to do my own business.
Right.
So now that I've got my business to this level, I want to invest in my people. And so the things that we currently offer, and this is, I'd say most of this kicked in within the last 6 years.
Okay.
Okay. So after about...
And so tell me, you started when? What year again?
2011.
2011.
So this is our 14th year.
Okay. And so 6 years in, you're now able to kind of begin to offer.
Well, 6 years ago. So that would be, do the math. Yeah. So about 9 years in.
Okay.
Now and I've always paid a good wage.
Right.
But health benefits, I was like, I can't afford that. Could barely afford my own health insurance, you know? So now we have health insurance, we have 401k, we've got profit sharing.
Oh, good for you. Okay.
My guys get a week paid vacation right from the get-go. So from day one, because we take off at Christmas time, I pay my entire staff to be home with their families. I pay them for an entire week.
Wow.
Plus, we give out Christmas bonuses. Those can range anywhere from $200 to $1,500.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we do, we get the typical days off like Thanksgiving, Memorial Day, Labor Day, 4th of July.
So PTO days.
They get paid time off for that.
Right.
And then after a year of service, they get an additional week off. After 3 years, they get 2 additional weeks. And after 5 years, they get 3 additional weeks. So basically after 5 years, you get a month off. One of them has to be at Christmas because we close. The other 3 weeks you can use whenever you want.
You have an employee manual, I'm guessing, at this point.
Sadly, no.
Okay.
It's in the works.
Okay, good.
It's been in the works for quite a while. Now with AI, I think it'll help me generate it faster.
Sure.
But that's one of the things where everybody's like, you got the perfect business. It's like, I don't. There's still a lot of things that I'm working on that I should have, right? So an employee manual, no. I've got rules that are kind of set up and the guys know what to expect. They know what's expected, but to actually have a manual, sadly, I don't have one, but it's half done.
When I had my company, we had an employee manual. It wasn't sophisticated, but it was employee manual. And so now today, you could do a ton of different things, right? You can do training classes where a guy's going to not only go on jobs, but he can sit through some other training that you're going to give him on, customer satisfaction, what this looks like, why is it important to me? So you can do a video on that, right? And you can store it into place. And so every employee at a month in, they're going to watch the video on what Jeff says about customers, right? And you can just begin to library these kind of things so that they're all there and they're ready to go.
Those are the things that we are currently working on.
Oh, cool.
So people say, well, what do you do in your daily routine? Because the staff handles most of all the daily tasks.
Sure.
Those are the things I'm working on. So I want it to where, let's just say the bathroom needs cleaned in the shop. I want a QR code on the bathroom door where they scan their phone and it'll tell them exactly step by step how Jeff wants it done. And it's going to be even stuff in the field, how to treat efflorescence.
Yeah.
How to clean out your sealing machine. I'll have a video for everything. So those are the things that I'm going to be working on.
It's a great idea.
Currently putting these stuff in together now, so that way, like to train anybody, honestly, you wouldn't even need to be there. As long as they have a phone and a QR code reader, they could do everything that we do.
Because your standard operating procedures are in place. Not only that, you got a video library that goes along with the standard operating procedures that reinforce or just basically iterate what those are, and they just need to just look at that, right?
Correct.
That's awesome. That's what you kind of need to do. So appreciate you sharing that. Today's episode of Hardscape Insider Podcast is proudly brought to you by Paver Protectors, the trusted name in paver sealing and restoration. Whether you've just got a brand new driveway or walkway, or you've had your pavers for years, the folks at Paver Protectors can make them look new again. Don't leave your sealant project in the hands of just anyone. Pick the experts in paver sealing. With over 1,000 reviews, Paver Protectors is a go-to choice in Southwest Florida for those looking to protect their pavers and bring them back to life. Visit www.paverprotectors.com today to schedule your free estimate and take the first step towards restoring the beauty of your pavers. So tell me about some of the things. So you've been doing this now for a number of years. What have been some of the biggest lessons you've learned, whether through hardship or whatever, maybe in the first 6 years and maybe in the last 6 years?
When it comes to lessons learned, it's more about just the lessons I've learned is interacting with people.
Okay.
So when I started my business, I would, not just this business, but even my business in Michigan, I would more or less, for lack of a better word, let employees walk all over me. Because I want to be the nice guy. I want to be their friend.
Right.
So they would kind of come in late as they please. No repercussions to that.
Right.
Because I'm like, well, at least you made it. Go out there and go get them. If you need help, let me know. I was just rah, rah, rah. And then through going to conventions and learning how other people run their business, I actually adapted the mentality at some point where maybe I need to be more military-like.
Okay.
You get away with nothing. Here's what I expect. And if not, hit the road,
Right.
So I've kind of morphed into kind of a combination of everything now. So now my employees know what I expect. They know what we expect as a company. They know they can't get away with stuff, but I'm also compassionate. So if there's an issue, if they've got family problems, I had a employee that was dealing with some issues, and I was willing to pay for counseling for him. I go above and beyond for my employees.
Yep.
Whereas before, I just always felt like I was getting walked on, and it's because I didn't have any structure.
Right.
It was my own fault, because it's like a speed limit, right? If the cops don't ever give tickets, is everybody going to go 70 miles an hour?
Right.
I'm probably not.
Yeah.
So there's got to be some punishment for going outside of what you do. So my brother, he shares an office where I'm at. He owns a tile and grout cleaning business, and I let him share an office in there. And his employees, sometimes they come in late, and he always says, "How do you get your guys on time?" He goes, "Your guys are an hour early." I said, "Well, they know what I expect, because right now our trucks leave at 7:00. If you're there at 7:02, we're leaving without you. So you got the day off, And if it becomes a habit, then we just get rid of you. So I don't have an attendance problem. All my guys are on time, every single one.
Right.
But that's the culture we built.
And it takes, it takes some time to do that, and it takes learning on your part as the owner, because I can certainly relate to being walked on, wanting to give grace, but yet feeling, hey, I think this is taking it a little too far. And so putting the barriers in place, the guardrails to say, here's what we expect. Can you deviate? Maybe depending on what the situation is, but this is the expectation. And so it sounds like you've learned over the years that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Keeps everybody on the same page, right?
Yeah, and that's what's really helped me as a business owner and to retain employees is let them know that you care, because you could pay them the most of any other company, and it's not always about the money.
Right.
A lot of people, it's just the recognition. Hey, good job. It's the attaboy, it's the pat on the back. Everybody wants to feel appreciated. And if you're say you make a lot of money, but you just don't feel appreciated and you don't enjoy going to work, well, then we failed as an employer.
Right.
So my guys like coming to work. Even when guys are let go, a lot of times they're calling, begging for their job back, or, hey, I made a mistake, I quit, can I come back? And if they leave on good terms, if they're a good employee, I'll always bring them back.
Right.
You know, I always say, don't burn bridges. You know, I've had several employees that have left and come back because they left in the correct manner. They gave me a notice, or it wasn't a hostile thing. It was just, hey, it wasn't for them at the time.
Right.
But as long as they left on good terms, I'm always willing to take them back. So being that I instill confidence in my people,
right,
and our staff, they work together as a team. And if they don't work together as a team, we let them go because it brings the morale of the team down.
Sure. And I can relate that. One of the things we had kind of the same number of people that you had when I had my crew. And, you know, one of the roles I thought my wife used to tell, you know, you're a counselor. You know, when you have young guys that, you know, a lot of them don't have father figures around. And so, you know, you're walking them through life issues and challenges. And so you're there. And so to get to your point of, you know, you're more than just an employer. If you want to be, you can be somebody that's a sounding board for them, someone that give them good advice. I used to always tell my guys the same thing. You know, if you want to leave, I have no problem if you want to leave. Just leave well, right?
Yeah.
And so if you don't, you're going to burn a bridge. And they saw many people just like you that left and wanted to come back. And I'm like, not going to happen. And I had one guy that left, good kid, just made some bad choices, left. And then he tried to get into the Air Force. And I'm military, right? So the Air Force calls me. I don't get many phone calls. So the Air Force calls me and said, hey, what kind of employee was? And I'm not trying to trash a guy, but they had asked specifically, hey, so tell me, would you hire him again? And I up to that point, I really didn't say much. But when they said that, I said, no, I wouldn't hire him again. I said, well, why? I said, well, you know, he didn't leave well. And that's one of the things. And I don't think he got in the Air Force because of that. Yeah. And it was just because he didn't learn. You know, there's ways to leave an organization where you're not burning a bridge. You can just say, hey, this wasn't for me. I'll work my day out or 2 weeks notice. And that's what you want to do no matter what you do. And so I had even guys that I said, yeah, I'd help you if you want to start your own business. If you want to learn how to do a business, if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And I had one or two guys that kind of got into their own thing at some point in time, and I'd get phone calls from them every once in a while. It's kind of like being a head coach. Sometimes your assistant coaches end up being head coaches somewhere else. They still call you.
That's right. They
still call you for advice. That's fine. That's part of what we're supposed to do, right?
That's kind of I do the same thing the same way. You know, I had an employee that just felt like he worked too much and didn't have enough time. You know, he wound up an auto detailing business, and I said, I'm here to help you. You know, so if you want to phase out, you know, and only work a couple days while you concentrate on building your business, you have any questions? I said, I'm not an expert at that business, but I've had a couple businesses that have been successful now, and I'm willing to help you, you know, to the best of my ability. So if we all build each other up, we're all so much better for it.
Right.
You know,
absolutely.
There's enough animosity in the world. I don't need any of that.
Well, that's a wrap on today's episode of Hardscape Insider Podcast. Big thanks to Jeff Evers for sharing his knowledge and experience with us. Next week, we got something really special for you. Bailey Peer from Pure Landscaping will be joining us to talk about scaling your business, sharing insights that could help you change the way you do your business. You don't want to miss this. If you like today's podcast, join Hardscape Insider Podcast community, follow on social media, or visit Citadel Hardscape Marketing for help growing your business. I also encourage you to join our new Facebook group called Hardscape Contractors Mastermind, where we will share insights and best practices for the industry. Until then, keep building, keep growing, and we'll see you next time on the Hardscape Insider Podcast.